Welcome to your Artsy Girl podcast. I am your host, Christina Carrere. This is a podcast about art, poetry, writing, and anything about creativity. Sit back, relax, and get your dose of brain food to get your creative juices flowing. Welcome to episode 40. Yes, indeed. This is the 40th episode. I can't believe it. But today, I bring to you a special featured guest. His name is Elmer Omar Bascos Pizo. He comes from a family of farmers, teachers, and religious leaders in La Union, Ilocos Sur, and Pangasinan, the Philippines. After graduating from high school, he entered St. Andrew's Theological Seminary. In his second year at the seminary, he transferred to Benguet State University, graduating with an agricultural degree in 1981. For a time, he farmed in Asingan before going on to teach poultry production at National High School in neighboring town. He then went to Saudi Arabia to work as a greenhouse agriculturist to record the cruel working conditions he and his co-workers encountered. On the day he returned to the Philippines, the bus he was riding back to his province was involved in a head-on collision with another bus. 6 of his fellow passengers died, including an elderly woman seated next to him. Pizo suffered a concussion and, because of his injury, lost his short-term memory. His neurologist suggested that he write as part of his therapy. He referred to his journal begun in Arabia and began writing poems, some of which appear in his collection, Leaving Our Shadows Behind Us. A resident of Iwa Beach for the last 20 years, he now works as a handyman. Prior to this, he worked as an outreach worker for the Hawaii Department of Health's tuberculosis program and an inspector for its vector control program for almost 16 years. Pizo was a poetry fellow at the 2000 SIBULAN National Writers Workshop in the Philippines and a poetry fellow at the Vermont Studio Center in February 2006. His poems have been published in several print and online publications in the United States and in the Philippines. His most recent readings were at the Asian American Literary Festival in Washington, D.C., sponsored by the Smithsonian, August 1st, 2019, and at the 5th Filipino American International Book Festival in San Francisco, California, in October 12th through the 14th, 2019. Everyone, please welcome my next featured guest, Elmer Omar Bascos Pizo. Hi, Elmer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for having me here, for giving me the opportunity to be featured in your highly esteemed podcast.
I'm honored as well to have you on your Artsy Girl podcast, and it was wonderful to have met you personally at the 5th Annual International Filipino American Book Fest out in San Francisco this past October, quite recently, in fact. But before we talk about your newly released book, Leaving Our Shadows Behind Us, I would like to get to know you a little more. Can you tell us where you were born and where you grew up?
I was born in Asingan, a little town in Pangasinan. Then I was sent to Ilocos, where my father grew up. And I was there for at least almost 3 years. I experienced the Ilocano life there before going back to Asingan again. That was like 59 years ago.
Well, interesting. Did you know that my mother is from Pangasinan also?
No.
She's from Dagupan, actually Banuan, Blue Beach.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're more on the shore.
I went there last May, and I went and swam in Bunuan, Tundaligan.
You did not.
I did.
That's my hometown. I spent many childhood summers there, so it's near and dear to my heart, and I hope to go back there one day. Yes, and they're famous for their bangus. And their what's that called? You know, that salty brine thing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forget it. The bagoong. Bagoong alama. So I remember my aunties making that. So yeah. So those are the memories I remember from growing up there. But yes, interesting. And Bulasan's from
Binalunan.
Yes. And I remember reading it.
Yes, ma'am. Binalunan is just about 9 kilometers away from Asingan to the north. to the south, it's just 4 kilometers away from Masingan. That's where Rosales is, and that's where F. Shunel Jose was born.
So a lot of famous people come from there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I find that Bosan's, when I read his book and I read your work, I found a lot of parallels and a lot of similarities to it.
Oh, wow.
So
Thank you.
so how did you get into writing? How long have you been writing? But before you answer that, did you know you and I were published in the same publication?
Hello.
Yeah, Our Own Voice, September 2001.
Oh yeah, I remember that, the biography for myself. Yeah.
So we have been in the same circles practically.
Yes.
And didn't even know it.
Yes.
So I know you've been writing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I read about your tragic experiences growing up and your harrowing experiences working in the Middle East.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Who were your literary influences or writers that you felt spoke to you?
I can name a few among the dead and living writers here in the U.S., like Carlos Williams,
Mm-hmm.
then Ted Kooser, Wendell Berry,
Mm-hmm.
and back in the Philippines, the ladies, Madam Edith Chimpo, Rowena Tarosa Sobido, and the most contemporary one among them is from the Visayas. Sorry, I forgot her name.
You got some pretty notable fellowships, residencies.
Yeah.
I guess Silliman?
Yeah, the oldest running writers residency in Asia, and it was.
Is it the one in Dumaguete or?
Dumaguete. It was run by Madam Edith Chimpo.
Yes, yes, and then you did the Vermont Studio.
Vermont Studio Center, and one of the largest, and I was selected by the great poet Naomi Shihab Nye.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And having read your work, I mean, I actually read your book on my flight back to Florida. I'm just deeply moved by your story. The way you, in your prose, how powerful that is, I have to say. Can you tell us a little more about your new collection of poetry, Leaving Our Shadows Behind Us? Where did you get the idea?
I didn't have any confidence about myself. I've been published by Bamboo Ridge Press for like 17 years in their anthologies and on the mainland U.S. And then all of a sudden in 2016, I got a call from the managing editor, Joy Kobayashi Centron, and she was asking me for my manuscript. And she mentioned that the submission for these poetry manuscripts were by invitation only. And then they were going to select 5. And then from that 5 manuscripts, they're going to select the best.
What an honor that was.
Yes, ma'am.
By invitation.
Yeah,
wow.
Submission by invitation. That's what happened. And I told her that I couldn't qualify for that stuff. So I disregarded that call. And then a month after, she called up and she was looking for the manuscript again. So
are you glad about her insistence and her persistence?
Yeah, I
this is your first collection, your full collection, right?
Yes, ma'am. My first one.
So you've been publishing in various reputable publications for so many years, and you probably amassed a lot of work. And so did they help you, or did you already have your poems organized and things like that, since it was kind of impromptu?
Yeah, the editors, two of them, Juliet Kono Lee, an established writer and well-known writer too, and Christy Passion, helped me organize my poem, and it took us 3 years from 2016 to
Wow.
2019. Yeah, we worked on this book for 3 years until it's launching in April this year, April 25. Yeah, so and then yeah, this is the book, and I'm just so glad that an author like you uh, is able to appreciate what for what it is. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. It's powerful in its honesty and and the experiences the speaker talked about. So with that said, could you share with us some of your work from this book?
Yeah. You want me to talk about read about my experience in Saudi Arabia, or
Yes, go ahead and explain, a little bit about the premise.
yeah. I wrote. There are two poems here that I wrote regarding that time when I was served my punishment when I led a strike, or because almost 9 months when we were not getting paid and we were still like treated like, I don't know, dogs are better treated than us, just to put it that way. And I wrote something about the whipping rope, and there's a sequel to that. And so here they are. You want me to read them?
Please do.
Yeah. Whipping rope. The whipping rope, 48 inches in length, is slender and tapers at the end. But don't ever underestimate its strength. When it strikes its target area, all the nerves there lose their throbbing innocence. For almost a year, while we were on 10 hours, 6-day work weeks in glass greenhouses, we were still waiting for our pay, still eating rotten fish and rice sprinkled with sand. My conscience often spoke to me, forget about working, stand up to the bosses. Instead of sulking and grumbling, strike. If the watermelons, cucumbers, tomatoes, cantaloupes die, so be it. If you are imprisoned, so be it. Every Friday at 9 a.m. after the Salah, the time for prayers, we prisoners were herded like smelly goats from our holding cells to the main square to take our individual punishments for crimes, real or perceived, they had accused us of committing. Mine was real. Fed up with the farm's working conditions, I led a work strike. No one tended to crops. It was less than a week before all the fruits and vegetables withered. 10 successive lashes crisscrossed my bare back. Each time the whipping rope landed, sometimes striking the bone of one of my shoulder blades, my body shuddered. I clenched and tightened my fists. How I wanted to cry and scream, but I knew the Lord was watching. It was disgraceful for him to see me acting like a child. With my hands tied to a black painted 4 by 4 by 6 post, I struggled to stand upright. My tormentor pulled my head up, looked into my eyes with the sharpness of a Henkel's knife. He taunted, "Oh, my boy, how I love your nerves and flesh. They're so tender and supple. I'm working hard on them to make your suffering more unbearable. Be still. 15 more, and this will be over." And this is the second midpoint, Alcarge, 1985, Tamanya Arbain, 48. Two more strikes comes in, and the weeping reached its end. Today had been the midpoint of 16 Friday weepings. Today, the roof looked so much longer. Today, the roof felt so much thicker, and I was only halfway through. As soon as it landed, the roof, sneaking up from behind, was like the stretched tongue of a Komodo dragon licking my back. Clenching my teeth, all I could see were the eyes of my father as he stared into nothing, and my mother's in her disappointment of me. The weeping finally over. My hands were numb by the tight ropes. The Yemeni guard untied me from the 6-foot post. My body crumpled. Sadiq, Muya, please, I moaned, then coughed, clearing from my throat a clump of coagulated blood. Before the bearded Mutawa could stamp his size 12 footprint on my back, the Sudanese laborer, still shaking from the lashings he also received, rushed forward to help me on my feet. Pal Sadiq, he said, extending his scalloped hands. After a couple of labored steps, I stopped to catch my breath.
Just seeing the whole awful scene.
I don't know. There's a flashback again. Some flashbacks, yeah. What happened to me? Yeah.
So you do get flashbacks of the trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially that this thing, abuses are still ongoing back in the Middle East today, and not only among the Filipino overseas contract workers.
Are there not any protections for overseas workers there?
I think the laws of our embassies, the laws of those countries, they're hard to deal with. We don't have any protection at all. There's nothing much this people from the embassies, Philippine embassies there can do. Yeah.
Well, is there word given to the Filipinos, potential workers that go there, to kind of steer them away and not go?
Yeah, there's the PAWA, Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, conducting these seminars before they go, and they present a lot of these kinds of problems and troubles that they may be facing when they're there. So still, because of our economic hardships, a lot of us gamble our lives.
And speaking of your poetry collection, what strikes me most profound is the title, Leaving Our Shadows Behind Us. Now, of course, having read your work, the shadows I can see are these traumas that the speaker of the poems have experienced. Do you have another poem you'd like to share?
There's actually this poem. The title is Leaving Our Shadows Behind Us.
The title poem. Yes.
The title, yeah. And it's about my abuse. And then it deals also with my mom trying to assuage me that everything will be all right. So, yeah, I'm going to read it now.
Okay.
Leaving our shadows behind us. After yet another weeping, I got up, pulled up my pants, and said the obligatory thank you, giving my father my word. I will not forget to give my respects to you again. I then kissed the back of his hand. As if on cue, mother appeared from behind the curtain, leaving our shadows behind us. She led me toward her kitchen sanctuary. Not a single word of whisper came out of her lips. All I could hear were a succession of labored breaths. I lay on a bench as her right hand grasped the neck of a beer bottle and swung its bottom against the flame of the lamp. to melt the solidified extract of coconut oil. Between sobs that shook my shoulders and tears clouding my vision, I took a fleeting glance at her. Ridges and folds of wrinkles, raw cuts and scars marred her beautiful face. Struggling to pour the oil into the palm of her left hand, ruined by a web of broken lines, she whispered, "Everything will be all right. Everything will be all right." I gave a slight nod. It was the only thing I could do, careful not to expose the disbelief bottled up in me. Looking at the bluish purplish bruises on her arms and shoulder, the fresh inverted L-shaped cut below her left eyebrow, the swelling on her upper lip, what I saw was more hurting than all the pain father inflicted on me.
Wow. So, do you find that writing poetry, such as the ones you shared with us, what do you suppose is the purpose, the reason why you write them and share them?
I didn't want at first to, because I have some other points in that manuscript that I submitted at the time that I wanted to be included, not this violent kind of stuff, but my editors told me that these poems were so important. So now I felt that I didn't want to dishonor my father, my late father, but I just wanted to share my experiences, my mother's experiences, because a lot of domestic violence, child abuse is ongoing all over the world.
Yes.
And, yeah, so I just wanted to contribute something that it's not about inspiring, probably to say something important also, coming from a abused child that I was once, and overcoming all this and writing about them.
Right. And I could see how editors probably wanted to hone in on a particular theme. And being that, you're sharing these horrible experiences. But what strikes me, I mean, stylistically and talking about the poem itself, you have a great technique of setting the scene in your prose and leaving us kind of out of breath at the end of each poem. So that, I have to say, is very commendable, and I thank you.
Thank you very much too, because this is the first time I am hearing this, and yeah, and I really appreciate how you appreciate these poems.
You said you may have some manuscripts that you're working on for the next section?
Yeah, being an inspector for Department of Health here in Hawaii once, I had written about insects, rodents, stuff like that, mosquitoes and rats, and I have a collection about this stuff too.
Oh.
Yeah, and so the title of this one of these manuscripts has nibbled almost beyond recognition and stuff like that. It's about a rat nibbling the food on a cupboard. Yeah,
so you're very observant. You have a tendency, and most writers are, they tend to observe things that people overlook or do not care to see, but you find something profound in them.
Yeah, what inspired me are these guys from Japan, the old haiku masters, especially Matsu Bashi. He wrote about a fly rubbing its legs, something like in prayer, and about a spider or something that struck me the most. Wow. And so that's how I was inspired to write about them. Yeah. Yeah. So
how far along are you? Is it almost done, you think, or?
They are done actually, and I don't know. because I happened to talk to Madam Eileen Casinito.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Paloma Press.
Yeah. And we read during the first reading in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then she talked to me about my poems too, and appreciated my poems. And then I happened to mention about my manuscript, and I asked her if it would be okay to let her look at it.
Yeah.
She said she wanted me to submit it as soon as possible.
That's awesome.
I'm done with it. I have 177 poems there to choose.
Wow.
They can choose from or something if they want.
Okay, so you write a lot. Obviously, you have many poems, and I can only imagine how many poems throughout the years. What is your work ethic like for writing, creating?
No, I don't have work ethic, to be honest with you. When I read with you in the afternoon, October 12th, and
yes.
I admitted that, and I declared there bluntly that I wasn't actually a poet. I was more of a wood carver. Remember that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the truth. But I don't know why my mind seems like every day I have ideas that I wanted just to write down. Yeah. So I don't know why I don't have something like a space to stop from writing anything that I can write about. I'm not bragging though. No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not saying that there are voices speaking inside my mind. I'm not like that.
We have voices. Writers have voices.
Because the voice probably have left me a long time ago. Or the voices. So
you get an idea and you just automatically sit down and you start writing when
yes,
it
ma'am.
moves you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always carry my notepad and
you do. Okay.
Yeah, and because I don't want to carry my laptop around. So
understandable.
Yes.
So where can people go to learn more about you and your work then?
I don't have a website.
No?
I don't have, because as I told you, I prefer, I don't know why, I just wanted to be on my own. Sorry about this.
No, that's understandable.
One of this, thank you. One of these established writers here in Hawaii, Sir Wang Tek Lam, told me one time that I was a hermit, and it was hard for them to reach me. But no, I wasn't. It wasn't the case. I just wanted to. I don't know. I just wanted to be by myself, and that's all.
So are you like active on social media or anywhere else?
No, not.
No? Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I occasionally post at Facebook, I mean, right. I don't know.
The audience can find your book, Bamboo Ridge Press.
www.bambooridgepress.com.
Right. And search out your book, Leaving Our Shadows Behind Us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
It's been great talking to you and learning more about you and your work. I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And hope to see you again one day soon, maybe in another, writing fest.
Are you going to that proposed event being organized by Madam Eileen Tabius in New Orleans next year?
Yes, that is one that she did talk to me about. And I think it may be doable because it's not too far from me. So that's why I told her, yeah, absolutely.
Probably I'll be meeting you up there.
Okay. Well, good luck to you. And you stay in touch, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. You take care. Miki aloha pumihana.
Well, everyone, that is it for now. Please tune in next week for my next featured guest. In the meantime, have a productive and creative week. Bye, Elmer.
Bye, ma'am, and bye to the listeners. Thank you very much to all of you, too.
Thank you.
Bye. Aloha.